listen to your real estate agent as long as your real estate agent knows what they're talking about.
Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Shear of MSA Mortgage.
The premise of starting the show was to be Mythbusters and sort of take out some of the fallacies out of the process.
And legal professional Ali Alavi of Alavi Braza PC.
It's a transaction for us, but it's someone's home for them. It's someone that has saved up all of their money, who has been renting for so long. It's the American dream. It's all of that.
The show that brings you the most up-to-date news in the housing market, week after week.
Is you can essentially tighten the timelines so that in the eyes of a seller, it's going to look as though it's cash. What I miss in Heights, I make up in person. Why aren't you talking to me today?
Yeah, you just get me fired up.
I do. I want to get you fired up.
Good thing my wife doesn't listen to the show. I should have a conversation with her.
Don't be jealous. Don't be a hater. There's no need to be a hater.
Here are your hosts, Rick Shear and Ali Alavi.
Welcome back to BBZ 1030 Real Estate Radio Boston. Check us out at realestateradio.boston.com. Go to realestateradio.boston.com or give us a call at 8554. Ask Rick.
What a great bumper music. Happy Halloween, everybody.
It's so creepy. Anyway, we've got a great show for you guys, like we've talked about. Jam-packed show. We've back Tony Chiarelli, Landmark Associates. Tony, how are you?
Great. How you doing, guys?
So you brought some friends with you.
I did. I brought my team.
That's awesome.
So we've got Jodi Swartz. She is with Kitchen Visions. You guys are based out of
Natick.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. We've got Yaz Designs. We've got Graham Ruggie. How are you?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming in, actually. This is a dream team to be able to put together to be able to get these renovations done. But really the goal of all of this is not only to get rid of some of the myths that people create as a result of watching all these beautiful TV shows, but really talk about the importance of budgeting and planning. All right. Let's talk about that. Tony, you're really at the focal point here. Individuals will call you, and you have to assemble your dream team, which they're part of. How long do generally projects take?
Well, obviously, there's going to be a various time frame depending on the level of the project. I mean, if you're just doing a kitchen remodel, that could take a couple of months. If you could be doing, now you're going to do an addition, you need to bump the kitchen out, or you're including bathrooms or roofs and whatnot. Now you're turning into 4 or 5 months. It depends on the level of what you're dealing with. It's having Graham and Jodi involved with the client in the beginning, kind of like you said, sets those expectations. So if we get brought in first by the client, they say this is what we want to do, I want to turn it over to them because they're going to flush out all the options, because then it makes it easier for us to bid the job, price the job, or even budget the job with them.
So sometimes you can go in, if it's a simple kitchen remodel or bath remodel, you might not need to bring the architect in for things like that. But really, when you start to open up walls and when you're going to start to maybe do additions and bump outs and really get that master bath everybody's always wanted, that's really when you're come in. So it doesn't always mean the three of you, but on some of those bigger projects, that's when they're bringing.
That's exactly right, Rick. We actually come in on the process when there's more involved, or we'll bring Jodi in to look at the kitchen as a real specialty area, the bathrooms as some specialty areas. And going back to the planning and kind of the myth busting is, on these shows, the design just kind of shows up and the homeowner goes, oh, I love it, that's great, or I'd like to move this one little thing, where it's really much more of a collaborative process. And that's what kind of takes up the time is the back and forth, the multiple design meetings, because there's a lot of things to select. Jodi can lay out a kitchen and turn that around in 2 weeks, but then the client has to look at that. They have to give feedback. They have to go out and look at tile. Then they got to look at plumbing fixtures.
Countertops, yes, the hardware, just the materials to build the cabinets. And the important thing about a lot of these is that the cabinets actually, basically drill down to the schedule, because the cabinets, when you order cabinets, it can take 3 months to get them. So, it's never too early to plan and at least get that, because, Tony doesn't want to start ripping out your kitchen and then waiting around for cabinets. So he wants to be there 3 weeks beforehand.
Let's just kind of talk a little bit about what to expect. Again, we're in the fall. We've got, the winter coming. We've got the spring coming and the summer coming where you can work outside and do all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about someone who's thinking about going and doing a remodel today. What does that look like for them? They're calling you guys today. You guys are meeting with them. Let's talk a little bit about expectations.
Well, there's the initial consultation period where we have to make sure we understand what the client's looking to do, put together the right team that we think will work for the project. We put together a proposal, really just getting to an agreement standpoint where we explain, because we do a lot of education with our clients.
Right.
A lot of times this is the first time they've done a project like this, and it's their most important asset. So there's a lot of education time and really helping them to understand how long it's really going to take. So it could be 4 or 5 weeks to get to a point where they're ready to move forward with our design and planning. And again, that process with the design and planning, the first 4 to 5 weeks could be where we go do the existing conditions. We might have to get a site survey for the plot of land. And we try and get to a point where we're doing schematic design to a level where we can get some budget pricing. Again, that's all part of working with Tony and having a team together. Is early on, before they spend a lot of our time, their time, and money, we can get a sense of what's this project budget going to look like. And then from that point, once we get everybody on the same page and their budget aligns with the project budget, then we can really move forward with doing construction documents.
Once you've assembled the right team, it actually will cost you less, and it will take you less time to achieve what you want out of your project. And Tony, you have an interesting story that you wanted to share with the listeners on that in that regard.
Recently a woman was brought to us that had a design that was done by an architect. It was only about 5 pages of stuff. It was very preliminary, but her story was that she had multiple pricing from different contractors and different values and things along that nature. And the contractors were telling them that they needed to change the design because it would be cheaper to do this instead of that, and back and forth, and there was a lot of whatnot. And now they can't do what they said, and she's back to square one. So she's got 5 pages of design, which is enough to budget, but it's not enough to do the project. And the scope's not defined hard. And so I'm starting over again, and I'm looking it over to give her a ballpark budget on what she's talking about doing in general over a 2-phase project. But this was a 9-month process.
Wow.
She's at step 1. So if you had started off with a team like what we are, we'd be in construction right now.
Right, because the architectural plans were designed without collaborating with the builder, because obviously the builder and the architect should have collaborated at that point to say, okay, is this design realistic, and can it meet the homeowner's budget?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that they're in that position, and they understand that they have to start over again. So they're not, again, I set the expectation that I'm not going to give you a proposal in 2 weeks. I'm not going to start construction a month from now. We're starting over. So it is what it is.
What are some of the things that, Graham, you do in order to be able to put things in perspective from a homeowner in terms of realistic expectations of the length of time that this project should take?
Well, starting from the very beginning, when we put a proposal together, we actually take quite a bit of time and put a 5 or 6 page proposal together that includes what we hear from them the scope is. So even before we're engaged, we're already looking at the project, looking at the feasibility, giving some preliminary opinions about, can you do this type of project? And we, in the proposal, we also put together a projected timeline for the process. And so early in the process, we also bring in a kitchen designer or a contractor so that they can begin to engage. So going back to Tony's story before we get done with drawings that are going to go out to bid, we do the very conceptual schematic drawings that we can get some initial pricing from. So from the very beginning, we're trying to set those expectations correctly. And we always look at projects about, okay, what do you really need and what do you want? And so through that process, we also help to get people to understand what their priorities are. We don't tell them what their priorities are, but they start to understand the give and take that has to happen.
Right.
And especially when that first budget number comes back, the priorities start shifting right away.